Hey, hey guys, we are live. Welcome to episode 3 of the Grind and Never Stops podcast. We would like to thank everyone, and when I say everyone, is all the viewers that has tuned in to us since day one. We want to thanks for that. Um, but you can check us out. We're on over 20 podcast platforms, and you guys can check us out on these platforms. We're mainly on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, IG, Facebook, Castbox, Castro. Um, we're on many platforms. So I'd like to thank everyone who's tuned in. This is episode 3 of the podcast. So something that came in these recent days is that about James Harden. And James Harden have been in trade rumors ever since the NBA Finals finished. So guys, like James Harden, everyone has always said like, oh, he's the best scorer in the NBA, top 5. He's the best shooting guards in the NBA, and all that. But I think this is why I had a debate with a friend of mine off camera about who's better, James Harden or Kevin Durant. And then he said Kevin Durant. He said James Harden. And I said, absolutely not. Because absolutely not. Because James Harden, if you look at it, everyone, like, it's always, oh, James Harden this, James Harden that. But, like, he hasn't done nothing in the city of Houston. The only thing he's done is win 60 games in the regular season. And when he goes to the playoffs, he chokes. And I don't like to use the word choke as much. I don't like to use it because I don't know, man, it's tough. It's tough because he hasn't done like really much like James Harden to the city of Houston. The only thing he done something to the city of OKC was, as you guys all know, was when they went to the finals. Like, as you saw, playoff exit this season, playoff exit when he had Chris Paul. But it's about this team is not about Russell Westbrook or Robert Covington. It's about number 13, James Harden, because he was brought to the franchise to do. He's getting paid. He was brought in to Houston after the 2012 NBA Finals. He was brought to Houston so they can unleash James Harden, because that was the problem for James Harden when he was with OKC. He was the third fiddle of Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, and it stopped him from unleashing. Same thing happened with the man you all know, is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving wasn't able to unleash. Well, he did unleash in Cleveland, but that was Kyrie has more game to that, and has more game. And you saw in the finals that him and LeBron scored 40. You saw how good they were, and all you guys saw how good they were together. But that wasn't Kyrie Irving being unleashed, because he was a second fiddle to LeBron, because that team is LeBron's team and he was running the show. Even though Kyrie was a point guard, LeBron was the actual point guard, coach, GM, whatever you want to call. He was everything for the Cavs. So that was a second fiddle, which was Kyrie Irving. And I don't want to give excuses, but you know that Kyrie Irving went through injuries, a lot of injuries. And it's not an excuse, because last season he was healthy. And when they faced the Bucks, they got smushed. And Kyrie Irving was the reason why they lost the Celtics to the Bucks. So you gotta look in all possibilities. And same thing with James Harden. He wasn't able to unleash. James Harden, he wasn't able to unleash. And that was the problem. That was the problem in Houston. That was the problem in Houston. That was the problem in Houston. He wasn't able to unleash. So he wasn't able to unleash. And that's why the Houston were interested. They're like, okay, this guy is a second fiddle to KD and Russ. And he was off the bench, but he wasn't getting the shots that when you want to develop a player in James Harden, and he was still developing in OKC. And as you saw, that he had big shots for OKC in the playoffs, and that he was one of the main reasons why the Oklahoma City reached the NBA Finals. He was one of the main reasons why they went to the finals. So that's why the Rockets were interested. But they didn't trade Harden because the Rockets were interested. They also traded James Harden because Harden wanted an extension, wanted more money, and that the Oklahoma City did not offer him the money that he was worth at that time, being very good off the bench. So that was the main reasons why they trade James Harden. And if you look at back now, James Harden won an MVP 2 years ago. Russell Westbrook won an MVP 3 years ago. Kevin Durant won MVP 4 years ago. And don't forget, Kevin Durant won back-to-back finals MVP with the Warriors. Don't forget, Russell Westbrook holds the record for most triple-double in the season. And don't forget, James Harden is the only player in the last 40 years to have more 60-point triple doubles than anybody in the league in the history. Also, Serge Ibaka, former OKC, was one of the main reasons why the Raptors won the championship last season. So the Oklahoma City had big players, but for James Harden was a second fiddle. He couldn't unleash with OKC because you know who was the first option was Kevin Durant, and you know who was the second, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden was the third, and sometimes was the fourth option. And the Rockets wanted Harden to unleash because they said, okay, Harden's been playing off the bench for a while, so it's time for him to unleash. And what did he do ever since he played with the Houston Rockets in the regular season? What has he done? What has he done? Yes, he gives you your 60-point games, your 62, your 50, more back-to-back 40-point games, 50-point games, most free throws made in the game in Houston Rockets franchise history. He has broke the record for how many games in a row scoring 10 or more points, scoring 20 or more points, and scoring 30 or more points for a long period of time. But what this has gotten nowhere. James Harden has gone nowhere, and he has choked in the playoffs every single season. And he's been the healthiest player. He's been super, super, super healthy. And I think 2 years ago when Rockets won 65 games, they're going great facing the Warriors in the Western Conference Final. And this was the time for Harden to really show everyone, the Warriors, everyone, that he couldn't unleash because he was a second fiddle. And they choked. But it's like the media always gives passes to James Harden every year. But man, I think enough is enough, and that you need to start criticizing James Harden and not giving him get out of jail free cards, because that's what he's been getting from the media. And especially when you have a team's number for years and years and years, and that's what the Rockets had against the Lakers. They always had the Lakers number, even with LeBron or without him. So it was his time to shine, his time to say, "Alright, Russ, I know you want to take your 20 shots. I know you want to get your triple doubles. But this is my team, and this is also our time to reunite again and beat these Lakers." And what happened? Nothing. He choked against LA Lakers. He choked miserably. It was horrible, man. It was very horrible. Because it was bad because, as you can see, game one, Rockets had the whole momentum. They won by 14 points. But ever since game one, what has happened? Game two, lost by 8. Game 3, lost by 10. Game 4, lost by 10. And game 5 was a blowout. They lost by 23. So it was a big, embarrassing series for the Rockets because they weren't built. My bad, but they weren't built for this embarrassing moment. They weren't built. They could have done better. But guys, we'll do episode 4 pretty soon. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. Check us out on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and many of your favorite podcast platforms. You're welcome to donate us as well. Um, I'll send you the link. The link is in the web.